Let's first find out if a dropped penny from the Empire State Building would actually kill you. Let's assume the penny used is a standard American 1-cent coin. As the force of gravity pulls the penny faster and faster towards the ground, the amount of air resistance acting on it increases. Eventually, the accelerating forces will be balanced out by this drag, meaning the penny won't be able to go any faster because it would have reached its maximum speed, known as its terminal velocity. Surprisingly, due to its shape, a penny reaches its terminal velocity after falling just 15 meters, which is just a bit higher than the Bean sculpture in Chicago. So, dropping a penny from any height above that would not change the speed it would reach when hitting the ground. At its terminal velocity, a standard 1-cent coin weighing 2.5 grams would travel at around 40 kilometers per hour, or about 25 miles per hour, and that's a generous speed, without considering the effects of wind. This isn't fast enough to kill someone. Granted, it would hurt, but you'll likely just be left with a bruise or scratch. This is because a penny isn't very aerodynamic. They're just flat metal discs that move and spin erratically. So what about falling bullets? How dangerous can they really be? Well, it's a bit more complicated than you would have thought. But before I explain, why not subscribe? We up what happens when a bullet is fired into the sky. The thing is that due to wind and a variety of different factors, a bullet fired into the air, even directly upwards, may fall hundreds of meters away from where you shot it. So you'd have to be very unlucky to be in the path of one. If fired at angles, they can travel kilometers across the land before hitting the ground. So it's incredibly difficult to track and predict where one would land. According to computer simulations, a .30 caliber rifle bullet fired directly upwards reaches a maximum height of about 3,000 meters or 10,000 feet and takes approximately 58 seconds to make its round trip. It would reach a terminal velocity after falling about 120 meters or 400 feet as it reaches a speed of around 160 kilometers per hour or about 44 meters per second. Surprisingly, that's not fast enough for it to penetrate human skin. It would need to travel at around 61 meters per second to do that. But this doesn't make sense because there are numerous cases of people being killed by celebratory gunfire. The most recent example happened in 2016 as a godwoman and her private guards at a wedding in India killed the groom's aunt and left 3 other relatives critically wounded. There are dozens of other incidents like this, including one of a man who had a bullet hit his nose and go through his chin. He was only saved because it hit his necklace, which stopped it from penetrating his chest. That guy should definitely buy a lottery ticket. But how do these accidents happen if a falling bullet doesn't reach a terminal velocity high enough to penetrate the skin? Well, it all depends on the angle at which the bullet was fired. When a bullet is fired straight upwards, it tumbles on its side on the way down, creating considerable drag that slows it down. This is because a bullet's weight isn't concentrated on its head. But if it was like a shuttlecock, then it would be really dangerous, even if fired perfectly vertically. Nevertheless, a bullet will tend to fall on its head if it's fired a certain way. If the bullet is fired at a slight angle, the bullet is likely to fall pointing downwards and remain spin stabilized on an angular ballistic trajectory. That basically means it will be traveling tip first. If this happens, the bullet can reach a terminal velocity of around 90 meters per second, or 300 kilometers per hour, after falling about 1,000 meters into its downwards trajectory. Since a bullet traveling at only 61 meters per second can penetrate human skin, a bullet falling from a non-vertical shot definitely has the ability to kill you. And obviously, bullets fired at an upward angle of 45 degrees or less can be far more lethal, since they're likely to hit someone ground while traveling at a much greater speed. In this case, gravity isn't directly opposing the bullet's motion, so the projectile stays at a higher velocity throughout its flight path. It's also more likely to maintain its initial aerodynamically favorable orientation. So a bullet fired into the sky can kill, and that's why it's illegal in most states and cities to fire weapons into the air. It's incredibly difficult to fire a weapon perfectly straightwards. The slightest angle could send the bullet off onto a trajectory that enables it to land pointing downwards. If we look at the video of celebratory fire at the Indian wedding, we can clearly see weapons being fired at an angle. So it comes as no surprise for in the woman video her companion murder over the incident. But even if you're lucky enough that nobody gets injured, you can still be prosecuted for firing weapons into the air. One 22-year-old student, again from India, posted a video of him firing a pistol